Okay.
Great. We are re-entering a regular meeting of the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. And so I'll actually start by entertaining a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Second. For March 19th, March 27th, and correct.
Any discussion? Jennifer, can we have a roll call, please?
Patrick Beaudry,
Yes.
Carl Eager,
Yes.
Thomas Creed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. People's Bank. All right.
Yeah, I'll start off with, I think, HRA, EDIC, the city, and most depositors, customers of People's Bank were notified about a year ago that they were exiting the state deposit insurance fund. Primarily, my understanding, primarily because of the size. They've outgrown it, and with their acquisitions and partnerships with other banks, they just became too big for that program. And so they assured the customers that they were going to cover all deposits through July 31st, 2025. In the meantime, they partnered with a group called, I believe it's IntraCash Financial Services, IntraCash Services, and provide protection above and beyond their limits. And at this point, there is no cost to customers to get into that program. So anybody that basically has in excess of $250,000 on deposit will be covered by that, and at no cost, at least for the foreseeable future. Can't guarantee it forever. So our contact at People's Bank Cash Management, who we rely on for support, contacted us and said, we're doing this. We would like to provide you with some information, and you would need to basically sign up for this coverage. And so they provided us with some materials, which I don't think we've shared extensively with the HRA. We did provide HEDIC with some information prior to the last HEDIC board meeting, and actually a rep from People's Bank came in and gave a presentation. And again, providing the assurances that our deposits are covered. But again, we wanted to understand the details of it. And when they indicated to us that that we would need to, basically agree to this and sign up for it, they sent a bunch of forms and a bunch of fine print of what this all means. And in a nutshell, I believe the way they do it is there's several banks, many banks across the country that they'll put deposits on that are in excess of the $250,000 deposit limits to get the insurance by spreading it out over multiple banks. They're able to provide individual banks customers with this insurance. So it seems okay, but again, we're just trying to get a comfort level of going into this. I reached out to Carl to take a look at it, to Tom. Jane is looking at it. Aaron, Jennifer, and I have been aware of it, and also trying to get some feedback from the city treasurer. So, recently had a discussion with Carl about it, and then shared some information with Tom. So I think it looks appropriate, but I again want to make sure that the HRA is comfortable going forward with signing up for it, because there is some paperwork that goes along with it.
Commentary from the board.
So I had a conversation with Frank Cornella and two of the cash management people at Peoples, because I used to work with them at TD, because I had never heard of it before. But I think John explains it right. By July, if not now, we are essentially vulnerable to any deposits of Peoples over 250,000, which would be the same if our money was at TD or if our money was at Bank of America or any large bank. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have this DIF, which is actually not a state fund; it's a private fund that's essentially owned by this consortium of 30 or 40 banks. To to insure deposits over 250,000. People's looked at the fact that DIF, if you look at their financials, they have about $500 million in cash to cover all these deposits for all these 30 banks. And People's gets to a point where they're so big, you know, they're a $5 to $6 billion organization. They might in fact have large depositors who might have $100 million on deposit with People's, and that's 20% of the whole fund. So they're looking at it saying, well, that doesn't really work it for us anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, they could have just said, no, screw it, you know, we're big just like everybody else, but they recognize that we still need to provide another solution to our customers. So to John's point, what they essentially do is if the HRA has $400,000 in cash, then 250 stays with People's, and they essentially sweep out anything above 250 and send it electronically to another bank. We would know which bank or banks those are. You guys would have an application that you would be able to go into called the depositor control panel, and you look it up on any given day. So they know exactly where that money is. And it's accessible, just as if it were just sitting in the bank. Yeah, it's an interesting vehicle. You know, it provides, whether it's a foolproof methodology to make sure that the money is insured, that's certainly the intent. I made notice of the fact that if you look at the agreement that you guys are being asked to sign, it starts right off. This agreement states the terms and conditions on which we will endeavor to place deposits. They will,
Right.
unless something happens, and at which point they can't. The fact of the matter is, People's is a strong bank. They're, you know, short of something happening, which any one of us as a depositor for any that wherever any of us have our money, we should be keeping an eye on where our money is and make decisions based upon what we might know or what we might be hearing in the community. I don't think there's any risk to signing this agreement. I don't know whether he has had any conversations or whether you guys feel any differently. To John's point, there is no cost. However, there is a 10 basis points cost to People's, and I think we all know that at some point they're going to pass the cost along, whether you see it or not. It might come out of whatever interest rate you're going to get. I think part of our money, HR money, is actually in a money market account, and I asked the question: we're earning a certain dollar amount, certain percentage on that right now. What will be the percentage rate if some of that money goes to Bank of California or Bank of Idaho or Bank of wherever? And Frank and the cash management people said, you will get the same rate that we quote to you. That's our risk, not yours. So I think it's fairly nebulous. It's better than nothing, which is pretty much what you're all gonna have come July, if not already. That was my takeaway. I don't know whether he had any conversations around it.
No, the only thing I would add to what Tom shared was, it's a smart move on the part of People's.
Yeah.
They've been growing, they want to stay mutual, which is unique into itself. And they've got to protect yes, there are a few major depositors that they have. Out of necessity, they're going to do that.
Sure.
It's great that there's this vehicle. What I shared with John was, interestingly, though it's not perfectly analogous to what we're discussing here, it runs over the general same theme, going way back when savings banks were state and residential, and commercial banks were federal and business. And a lot of the savings were being denied getting into, especially what we otherwise call small business lending, to wit, a local guy by the name of Wayne Alderman came up with an ingenious third-party corporate entity, new bank, and he was able to take 22 savings banks from the 4 counties of Western Mass. And think of it this way: one bank has got such a limitation if they want to make that little step into doing business lending, to wit, 10% times 20 of X times 22 now gives you a nice pot with which to deal with, and that's what they came up with. And then the key was that entity, if it was located in one of those or within the periphery of one of those 22 banks, that would be the lead bank for doing the paper trail.
Yeah.
But then they would have access to it. So this is similar in a way.
I think the only thing you need to be careful of is, to the extent that you start doing business with another bank beyond People's, if for some reason, say you wanted to put some money with Munson, or you wanted to put some money with, well, we'll just use Munson as an example, because it's the first one, or even TD. If you want to do business with TD, and TD was one of the banks that they're sending money to, then you need to make sure that they're not depositing your money with TD, because now you're at risk of having more than 250 at TD. So you do need to be aware of where your money's going, but it isn't going to be anybody around here, and it's really not going to be a risk, but it's something you should be aware of. And in all likelihood, Peoples would make you aware of it before.
Right.
You needed to be aware of it.
To your point, there was a time when we were having a shuttle amongst the banks because they had a limited amount. How long ago was that, John?
No, it was kind of when I first started, yeah, it was, but I think part of it was, wanted to get some assurance that the money was protected, and so we would keep the limits, and we were all over it at many banks, and, keeping it under the 100,000, because we used to be 100,000, before it was 250, and,
So we don't have the board of the Y, and the Y does the same thing, but we don't keep more than 250 in any one bank. So we're moving around all the time.
that was one of the discussions that came up at the HRA meeting was, and with People's Bank rep is a bank like, for example, Westfield or People's, I forget what, Westfield or East Hampton, they are, I think East Hampton is still part of the DIF because of their size.
Yeah.
And they can say, hey, all of your deposits are insured. The flip side of that is when you look at the DAF and their limitations, is it really any safer, question mark. So, some of the discussion was, well, maybe we should move some of the money to one of these other institutions, and we can get full protection without doing this.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, we'll need authorization for the HRA to sign the agreements. And I don't know if we wanted to do that today, or, well, I think we have a little bit of time. We could review it with the folks who aren't here. Seems pretty straightforward, and that we would.
I'm assuming Jane's gonna look at it and
She is.
make sure that, but from my perspective, I wouldn't have any objection to it.
No,
It doesn't prevent you from spreading your money around if you decide you want to do that today, tomorrow, the next day. But also know that People's Bank has been a good partner to South Holyoke Homes and some of our other projects.
and they're the only one located in Holyoke.
And the only one located in Holyoke. I would not use this as a reason to
No,
take money out of.
but it's there.
Yeah, I think we heard some of the same sentiment at the HRA meeting also.
So, we want to make a motion?
To sign it? Yeah, we make a motion to sign it.
I'll move to give, would it be the HRA signing this?
Yes.
I would authorize, I would make a motion to authorize the chair to execute the deposit placement agreement proposed by People's Bank, subject to review by council and OPED staff. And with any immaterial changes or other requirements, but I can go ahead and sign it on our behalf.
Just wanted to make sure he's finished.
I am.
Second.
Any further
So you
discussion?
cut that motion off for everyone.
We have a roll call, please.
Carl Eager,
Yes.
Thomas Creed.
Yes.
Patrick Audrey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Looking into that, because it's some of this stuff was,
They did send me this, which was
Yeah.
just I don't know whether you have this or
I
not.
can share that share that with the, with the board.
It's pretty basic.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, do we want to do,
Go through it.
update, staff want to start with South Holyoke Homes?
Well, I think Tom gave us the real update. He was in the.
Yeah.
That's kind of really what it
Yeah,
was
no,
too.
I think, I guess from our perspective, and John had set up a good call with Maggie Schmidt at Executive Office of Housing Little Communities. Our commitment to the South Holyoke Homes project at this point is complete. So all the properties have been transferred, including a couple others that were named in the agreement, that don't technically have a plan quite yet, but everything's been transferred, that was agreed upon. And so our commitment at this point is done. Whether something else comes up later, it'll be a new agreement. And they seem to be on track. The last time we talked to Sarah, they seem to be on track to occupy, well, they're going to be doing the home ownership, they're starting that process. They're working with some of they already have applications open. We know that because we know someone that's applied.
Yep.
So they are accepting applications for the home ownership and starting that process, and they do still hope to have them start being occupied in the fall. And phase 3, I know that they've got their site plan review for phase 3. So they've done through planning for phase 3, and now they're in the funding world to get phase 3. So, but it does look great. It looks great. Those lots, the Trinity Church lot has 2 houses on it, so that's always great to see. That was an interesting lift. It's my first year here. Like, okay, and so that's great. It's great to see, and they are hopefully moving forward with phase 3. But of course, now with the finances and whether they're on the federal level and whatnot, we'll see what they come up with.
As a side note, when I was at lunch today, there's actually a commercial about them. I was surprised to look up and see South Holyoke Homes. Yeah, Matt Mainville, and shows the houses and contact them for information. And
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Which one are you moving into?
My sister thought I was funny. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Look that's our project."
Sarah said they're on a couple of television, I'm gonna guess it's probably like Mass Appeal or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they're doing a couple of those.
So it was exciting
The
to
open
see
houses
that.
today, and she said they have a handful of applications. A handful is a handful. Or obviously, they need more than a handful.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Still early yet.
Yeah.
Excellent. Appleton Street, WinnDevelopment.
Petrified wood, I think, is what we're discussing.
But we're hearing, I think they had an open house and their lottery was in the last
Oh, yeah.
weeks.
They did.
I got mentioned that at the last meeting, so,
Yeah.
They're still full speed, yeah. Their initial is what, August, I think, is when they're gonna start, hoping for full occupancy by the fall.
Yeah, it might be September or something. So yeah, they had what, 200 applications, something, or a little over 200
200,
applications.
yeah.
A little over 200 applications for the 86 units. They did the lottery, they selected people for each unit, but now they're vetting them, making sure that all the income restrictions and et cetera qualify. But they do have another 100 to go to in case anyone falls off that initial list. They have made a counter offer to the railroad, so that conversation is still in discussion about the rail line there. It looks to be more of a long-term lease as opposed to a sale. So that conversation is still happening with the railroad. And we had discussed one more site visit before they started really occupying it. And we were thinking of sometime like in July, and probably bringing in some of the other partners, even people like, like Jim Lavelle and some of the people like from Holyoke Gas and Electric and, from the water company, they were all part of this project and they've never been inside it. So we're talking about one more sort of city visit before they start occupying it.
Is the long-term lease the railroad's preference or Wynn's?
I think that was the railroad's offer, was it?
Yeah,
The railroad's
the
offer.
railroad.
so
Yeah, it's a money thing now.
we're supporting the railroad, on their efforts and all kinds of stuff, but in this case, we've stepped back in the negotiation. We're we'd like to see it move forward. We're encouraging that to happen, but really it's the negotiation between the two parties right now.
Yeah.
Just have the mayor tweet about it every once in a while.
Exactly.
That's how conflict resolution works now.
A couple of things that are upcoming too is the underutilized property program grant that HRA received to support the project is coming due. So we should be getting some invoices for that, and by June 30th, we have to request reimbursement. It flows through, I believe it flows through HRA.
I think so.
Or we may be able to request a direct payment to Win, but that's getting closer, and we'll see that in the next probably 45 days, I would think.
Yeah, they gotta do some.
And,
Yeah.
And then also we're continuing to have our every 2-week calls with Win, and one of the topics is looking at phase 2 with the buildings 1 and 2, with the potential for application for funding to do some site works and demolition possibly. So that's, I think they were still trying to refine some of their environmental work. We keep asking to move it along, and so we're trying to get arms around the number.
Yeah.
And then, there may be we may come back to the HRA depending on the amount that's gonna require, if there's any funding shortfalls, to see how that can be filled, but all those are part of our ongoing discussion with them. So.
Will we presumably still own 1 and 2 when those are demolished, or?
Well, I mean, I think, my understanding was after phase 2, they're supposed to buy all the land,
Right.
move all the land, so they would buy that property.
Yeah, they agreed with us to buy all of it,
Yeah.
and, but although there is the potential for a period of ground lease afterwards.
Right.
I believe it's like, there's a 5-year recapture.
5 years, the tax credit, yeah.
So
They might-
if it applies, our intent was to see if we could basically sell, become out of that ground lease for not only phase 1, but for phase 2 eventually, and
And then, the only other 2 things, just so folks know, so to John's point about the demolition of buildings 1 and 2, we did, Jennifer put together an ARPA application. There was $1.5 million in ARPA interest that was available. The mayor had indicated he wanted to be about housing projects. There was $8.5 million of requests. And so they're going through those. In my discussion with the mayor and Alicia at Office of Community Development, and then we let HAGOP know this, I sort of said, hey, if I can get us 200,000 towards this, we can talk about, I'm not sure what else we can get, it would have to be, you have to demo these buildings by next June. Are you willing to put the rest of the money out? And so they said that they're looking at the Mass Development Brownfield grant, they haven't applied yet. So our discussion is sort of like with internal is, if the mayor approves the 200,000, there's also this other caveat of like, this needs to be confirmed like in 4 months. Like we'd have to know by October if they're gonna pull the trigger and fund the rest of it, because if not, he wants to reprogram at 200,000.
Yep.
So that's the sort of.
Which sounds like he could do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, and then the last request, was, and I wonder if we should loop in Jim Wildman on that one, but the last request
Yeah.
came from Yoni Grillauer, our Sustainability and Conservation Director, asking about the remaining petrified wood that is in buildings 1 and 2. I forget what the use was. Something.
Scott's Tower.
Scott's Tower.
And some landscaping type amenities.
That first platform, when you go up to Scott's Tower, is being redone with some flat flagstones, but they wanted to put some Holyoke interest to it, and so they're relocating some dinosaur fossil plaques from one of the reservoirs, and then they were looking to get some of the petrified wood to put up there as part of the landscape of Scott Tower as they're redoing it.
Pretty cool. So, but I believe, and I might have thought tomorrow, I believe that Yoni has reached out to HAGOP, but I'm worried that the email bounced, or, because
Okay.
HAGOP usually replies.
And I did tell him that Jim would be the person on site,
Yeah.
but that he needed to talk with HAGOP first.
Okay, so we'll fall back up then, but it would be good to get that stuff out of there, it'd be great to see it reused somewhere.
Yeah. Do we have any updates on 123 Pine for this meeting?
I don't think so.
The only thing I had was we were gonna talk the insurance quote, but you mentioned that in executive.
Okay, High Street updates for this meeting?
Again, we kind of covered the majority of that, just we're moving forward. The new grant application is gonna try to kind of come off of where we are now. So we were kind of hoping to understand where Ben and Stan Tech are, so that I can kind of take where we'll end up and move it forward. A lot of my focus is gonna be on more action items, whether it's acquisition, demolition, or actual site readiness work. So as I'm doing the grant application, there is a continuum of services, so I'm making sure that I get right into that action spot as
Yes.
opposed to the studies. And so we're still moving forward with that. And hopefully, once we speak with Ben, we'll know exactly where we are.
we're meeting with Ben tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good.
Tomorrow morning.
We are an authority of action.
There you go.
Yeah,
Beyond walls.
Yeah, so the last one, so here, all good ideas come with more and more work. So, as we know, we're in this agreement with Beyond Walls to activate the lots, between Race and Main Street and between the Armor Building and the Cubits. And so, they have our use agreement for 2 years. They've secured funding from Mass Development, as well as Jennifer and I secured funding in the Mass Gaming Mitigation Fund. So there's some significant money prepared. They're on site now, starting to do some work there. They laid down some new stone. They're going to try to level out some of the area. They have a number of Connex boxes coming onto the site that will frame out the site. Stephanie Cologne, our Massive Motion Coordinator, will be bringing 2 art pieces onto the site. One is the Matria exhibit, which is currently at the library. And another project that she's going, the sort of quintessential, you see it when you go everywhere, the sort of I love Holyoke letters, the perfect selfie setup. So we're looking to bring that there as well. So what's before us is a sort of management agreement, and we were many, and it's, I don't want to use the word management agreement, but it's some sort of activation agreement. And, we were obviously a little bit concerned about some of the responsibilities, and so we did, kind of go back and forth for the last couple of weeks. And there's a little bit more just a general understanding of how this will sort of work. And we were very clear as to we're not gonna have somebody on site looking at this every day. Well, it turns out we now do have some support. Stephanie Cologne, our Massive Motion Coordinator, through her funding was able to hire a lot manager. So
Bianca,
Bianca, I forget her last name,
I can't remember.
but she hired somebody.
Mhm.
So this person will be in charge of daily supervision and connecting with Tony Whitman, who's being paid to be the maintenance. So if something happens or if there's a cleanup needed, they can be contacted. But also managing it's gonna be open to the public all the time. Obviously, it's a lot, activated lot. There will be access there for people to sit and have lunch, and Armory Yard will be happening, different events will be happening there. But if someone wants to rent the space, like they would any other facility in the Holyoke, this lot manager would manage that. So we're also gonna have the money come to us. That way we can keep track of the money, manage the money, and put it back into the park, or back into the lot activation if we want to at some point.
Who's us?
Us, the redevelopment authority. So that person would then, so John says, I wanna have a birthday party at this thing. We say, great. They talk to the lot manager. The lot manager says, what are you gonna do there? Okay, you're gonna have food. You need to go to the Board of Health, make sure the food truck has a license. You're gonna have music, make sure you go to the police department, get a sound permit, and it's $100 and you make the check out to the redevelopment authority. And then we can mail that money, we'll track it, and everything will hopefully just be perfect. And so the agreement is sort of lays out some of the responsibilities. And a lot of it does fall on the lot manager and Stephanie. This is also part of the Puerto Rican Cultural District. So there's gonna be a manager for that district. Nueva Esperanza just announced they have a new director coming on board on June 1st or June 2nd, that Monday. So this is also on their radar as well. And in the agreement, we also added that, we should review this agreement, every 3 months, because we may want to tweak it. We may learn some things and look at this differently. So, all entities are aware. I've been working with the DPW already on this lot. They put up some no parking signs because people are parking where the tiny home was. So there's no parking signs there now. So DPW is aware. Tony Whitman will be the property maintenance company who's going to be on there. He's already got a contract. And so this is that sort of one final document to be looked through. Legal did take a pass at it, but then also indicated that, since this was with the HRA and Beyond Walls, that it wasn't being signed by the mayor, that they gave us sort of first pass, but it wasn't going to be something that they continued to look at, that they wanted outside counsel, we could do that. But we tried to keep it pretty broad stroke and pretty general. But again, I think with the lot manager now in place, And with Tony Whitman in place, contracted to do the maintenance, I think that we have a good setup to maintain the park. Additionally, we're talking to Lighthouse School, which is just, half a block down. They are already working with us on utilizing their students. Their students have started a bench and picnic table program, I think similar to the center school used to do that, I think. You could buy
Just gate.
the former Gateway City, yeah. So they have a program there where the students are making benches and making picnic tables that they're selling. So we're gonna work with them to have them not only do that, but kind of adopt the lot, come over there for lunch, bring your students over there for lunch, start to see people there, start to have it be active. They may do some events there. We do know that they want to be doing an event on Ray Street, music events and stuff like that. So, so we're gonna have lots of eyes on this park, on this lot. Scratch that for the minutes. Don't call it a park. So we're pretty confident on that. And then just lastly, one container showed up yesterday. All the containers should be provided by the end of the week. The Bend, which is their artistic, I think I showed it to you, but I can always bring it back up. The Bend is this artistic, it looks like a wave. It's people can sit there and eat their lunch, do their homework, do whatever it might be. It's been sitting in a park in South Boston near the JFK Museum for the last couple of years, so they're bringing it here. And on June 14th, so June 14th, they'll be in town for a paint party. So the Connex boxes will all become public art. So the plan is to, on the inside the park, if you will, those are gonna be murals. They're bringing in other artists, and the community will be invited to participate. Our hope is to actually they were planning just doing a solid color on the outside, the sides that face outside the lot, but we're actually maybe talking to some other artists to maybe do some more stuff there. So it's gonna be this activated art park. We already know that Monday nights beyond Armory Yard now will be held there. So every Monday night through the summer we'll have activity there. Stephanie, again, Cologne is already programming some activities there. So there should be lots of activity there, really starting off. I think everyone's really excited as the Armor building comes back online now with the co-work space, and they have a built-out restaurant. They're talking to some people about it. Obviously, we know the Cubic building is fully occupied. They're all excited about it, and so we're hopeful that this will be a good positive activity for the area. And and it turns out that Beyond Walls actually has a sign laser making machine, and we are going to make signs for the park. We're envisioning probably 4 signs. One will be a thank yous acknowledgement sign. One might be a dedication sign, and then 2 signs indicating that this is Redevelopment Authority owned, interest in the property, and or if you want to rent the property, you contact us. So those signs will be placed on the park as well.
Other than fixtures, no physical building, right?
No physical building, no, correct.
So where will the property or lot manager be in a car? How does?
Well, they're not there full time. They're not there. They're more on call. They'll have a schedule where they check in with the lot, but it'll be someone that you contact if you want to rent the lot or if there's a problem.
So there'll be signs and benches.
Yeah, and then in one of the boxes, and one of the Connex boxes, there'll be, so if you rent it, the thing that you'll get keys to this Connex box that will have the sound system, the stage, cornhole, giant Jenga, have a bunch of other assets in there that you will rent. You also get the keys or the code to the porta potties. There will be porta potties on site, but we won't keep them open except when there's events. So if you rent the park, you get these assets, and you get the porta potties, so you get access to this stuff. So a lot of those things we won't keep out. And we're also hoping, we were talking to Lighthouse and their team, and Phil from Beyond Walls found, like these sort of really cool, there's these kits to make the recycling and trash bins and stuff like that. So there'll be trash and recycling there. We'll work with Tony Whitman. Tony Whitman will be picking it up because Tony Whitman conveniently is also the contractor on High Street for the bid or the Business Association improvement right now, not technically the bid, but so he's already has an infrastructure to do daily pickup and pick up trash or recycle.
Any thoughts?
So was this management agreement just for we can look at it. You're not asking us to approve this management agreement, or are you?
If there's we can, if this time is, when we're ready to agree to it, we need to agree to it. So at some point, so if we have edits, we can re-edit and send back some more comments.
Who wrote it?
They did the first draft and then we were kind of back and forth.
Did I understand that the city's legal department won't review it because they're not a party to it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
But aren't they a party to it? Responsibilities of the city of Holyoke and its lot manager?
I think because initially it was City of Holyoke, and then because this couldn't be the city, then they inserted Redevelopment Authority, and they call the Redevelopment Authority the city, maybe that.
Yeah,
changed it.
That was confusing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that I think needs to be corrected if the fact that the city is not a party to this. Then there should not be any reference to the city, because I think it's very confusing.
Yeah.
So I guess that means when I'm looking at section 3, responsibilities of the city of Holyoke and its lot manager, does that mean the responsibilities of the redevelopment authority and its lot manager? But then it starts talking about public safety and security, emergency planning, site maintenance, operational support, permitting approvals. That us?
No, yeah, so really, I really should be the lot manager. I mean, it goes back to so licensing, and I think that they threw everything in there. And I think, so it was like, so if someone wants to have alcohol, we need to tell them they get a 1-day liquor license. Right, and so then that comes through our office. So, it really is the lot manager. We're gonna have this sort of checklist that we're developing for them to say, okay, what are you doing on this lot when you're renting it? And what do you need? And so if and the public safety is like, as we know, I mean, I doubt this is gonna happen at that area, right? But if there was more than 50 people, and if someone does an event that projects more than 50 people, they automatically have to have a police officer on site.
Yeah.
Right, and then I forget what the number is for an ambulance, right? So those are already in place.
So then when I look at like section 4, joint responsibilities beyond walls and the lot manager in partnership with the city of Holyoke, which I presume now is the redevelopment authority, but then it says mass in motion.
Yeah.
Like, mass in motion is not.
No, that's definitely,
That's definitely-
it's more the output office.
So,
Yeah.
I think somebody needs to clean this up a little bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be comfortable
Yeah.
approving this,
Okay.
because I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it, the basis of what you're trying to do, but it wasn't clear to me, even on the signatures, that city of Holyoke.
Right.
And beyond walls, but the HRA wasn't signing it, but now I'm starting to realize that maybe the city isn't a party to this, but it sounds like they are.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my overall issue, and then beyond that, 2 quick questions. One, the license agreement that was included in this, that's already been executed, right?
Correct.
So this is
That's like the appendix? Yeah, exhibit. Yeah.
Informational. Yeah.
So what money, so the grant, the grant was given to us?
So we have the mass gain and mitigation grant, yes, came to our office.
The city of Holyoke, not the HRA.
Not the HRA.
Well, then I think the city needs to be a party to this, because that's where the money is, right?
Yeah, we have a purchase order for the money we ought to be, yeah, you're right, yeah.
I wanna make sure that I understand as a redevelopment authority member.
Yeah.
Precisely where the money is.
Yeah.
Who can spend it. When money goes out, who it's going to. If it's me, the city's doing it, I don't care.
Right.
But if it's me, then, and what I'm kind of feeling is like, this is me. So I need to know who's controlling the money going out. You talked about the fact that somebody might rent. If they rent, they write a check to the redevelopment authority. Who's collecting that money? Who's accounting for that money? Hey, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I don't want us to get into trouble. And this agreement didn't help clear that up.
You forbear, therefore forewarn.
What he said.
Yep.
Part of it too is, I think part of it is just trying to make this work with lots of parts and trying to fit it Because it's, part of it is the gaming money, right, that
Mhm.
comes to the Mass in Motion, right?
Yeah, well, it comes to the city, not Mass in Motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Since it
does,
comes
it
to the
gets,
city, does that mean the city council gets involved in this? Don't they have to approve a
They
grant?
approved it.
they
Oh, they were-
approved all of that.
We have all the money. We have the money, we already have a purchase order going for the money. Yeah, no, and you're right, it does get complicated, because with most projects, like not, you know,
I think the city was
What was-
thinking, because the HRA owns it, that the HRA should be party. But I can see your argument, though, that if the money is coming from the city, should the city be party? So maybe that's a conversation we should bring back to legal,
okay. And can OPEB be the city?
right?
I think that would create, to me, that would create more clarity, because it's gonna be, you know, well, at this point in the game, because it's gonna be us doing this, right? It's in the law
Yeah.
manager, kind of helping that, and Stephanie, so it's really our office.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I was told, 2 years ago, that I can't sign agreements, that I have to be the city, so that's why we try to use the redevelopment authority, so we don't have to deal with the city council or deal with the city, so this, we're in this weird space, I get what you're saying.
So as weird as it is,
Yeah,
you need to clear up.
yeah, got it.
More reason to forbear that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's good. No, we have the same, we have the same concerns.
We did, yeah.
We have the same concerns, we're trying to,
And I wrote, where's my for sale sign?
Yeah.
You answer that question, so.
Yeah.
I looked through this, where's my for sale
Yeah.
sign? I don't see it anywhere there. All right.
That's fine.
yeah, so I guess the question will be, as we
If money's
redraft
coming
this.
from the city for activation,
Yeah.
should they be party to the agreement, not just the HRA because they own it? We do have to parse that out
Yeah.
and
And can it be open, could be me, and
Mhm.
it could be like me,
because we're the connection,
Right.
OPED's the
What
connection
would you
between
say?
HRA, mass gaming, and, you know,
Inflation, again,
we'll iron it out.
we just witnessed a lot about a lot.
yeah, we have a lot, exactly, nice to see, exactly. Put that on, sure. Okay.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Daphne and Tiffany are gonna be mad they missed out on.
Yeah.
So do you have time for us to meet again to approve this agreement?
Well, I guess that was my question, like, yeah, what is, I mean, I don't know the exact bylaw, if I get this redrafted. And yeah, yes, we'll have to send it, and we have to meet, right? So,
We'd have to
yeah,
meet,
So
yeah.
I will follow up.
Okay.
Yep.
Zoom or just,
Yeah,
it's just one topic.
Yeah, but I want to send it out as an next draft. Can we get comments by email?
I think.
As long as it's not
Individually.
reply all,
Yeah,
yeah,
send it to us
individually, yes,
individually. Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. Okay,
or you can just send it to two of us.
right, okay, okay. All right.
Very good. Any other business?
I just to put on your radar, so for June, so I just want to put this on your radar, we talked about Haberman. I had mentioned at a previous meeting the concept of supporting TDI effort. So Kevin has sent me something, I didn't want to, it came in too late for this meeting, so we will send it separately for people to start considering and looking at, and so see what Kevin's presented. So we'll talk about that at the June meeting. We may send out an email next week asking for different dates availability in June. But we'll cross that bridge next week when staff meets on Tuesday, since Monday's a holiday. So we may look at, especially now if we have to get this agreement in, we may look at some other dates, but. And then the last thing, just to let people know, and this conversation is going to happen both with HRA and with you. So the recent budget was submitted by the mayor, and he did not fund our development specialist position, which I was hoping for. And
Reasoning?
no reason was given. And in fact, instead of the conversation about that position, I walked into a meeting with the mayor and the treasurer and the city solicitor and was told they were laying off our economic development clerk.
Hmm.
So we will be down. So instead of talking about, the development specialist, which I was ready, like, oh, maybe HRA will pay half and we can make this out. It was, we're cutting our staff.
Short sighted,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so,
Short sighted.
I spent the last year working with personnel and legal and the unions to differentiate the 3 admin positions in my office, 1 for licensing, 1 for planning, 1 for economic development, and now they went and cut the economic development admin staff. So so Kim is officially laid off on June
The end
30th,
of the fiscal year.
end of the fiscal year.
With all due respect, you're the only one that's action oriented, everything else is reaction.
Yeah, I
Can
say
you
that.
say it any other way?
Can't say it another way. So, they're talking to her about another position in Parks and Rec, but no, there's 5
Doesn't help
people.
you.
Doesn't help
I'm
us.
glad it helps her, but it doesn't help you.
No, so we are gonna put together some kind of proposal. This was something that HEDIC has done in the past. Redevelopment Authority has not been part of this. We've got to kind of get our ducks in a row, but, you know, if we want to look at hiring a development specialist that can help move projects along with Jennifer and John, we may look to HEDIC and to HRA to look at staff support, financial staff support.
Yeah,
I know it's easier for
we've
HEDIC.
already done it.
I know, HEDIC's, I know, right. But we also want to be mindful of the work that this person would be doing. It might not all be HEDIC related, it would also be HRA related. So, you know, we'd also be mindful of the financial differences between the two and sort of looking at more like an 80-20 split in the finances.
Yeah, there won't be any splitting hairs.
So we're just
There's
putting that
one
out.
office, that's what matters.
I appreciate that. But
You're servicing both.
Yeah, I'm totally in favor of considering it. The difficulty for the HRA versus HEDIC has got some income.
Right.
We have none.
Yeah.
We have cash, which is great,
And
but
we've already done that, Tom.
Yeah.
There's a precedent,
Yeah.
strong precedent.
Moving
And
those
the key is
barbecues to
it's a
summer
single
LA
office.
Street.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
The key is it's a single office.
Yeah.
No matter if there's more than one operation.
Yeah.
So I think that's stuff on your radar. So, you know, so we're trying to figure it out.
Appreciate that.
There's gonna get an earful the next time he sees this, though.
EOHLC meeting, we kind of touched on that.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Money for armory, lighting.
So we're gonna look back at minutes. I know we talked in the past, that we approved the idea of, you know, getting some lights or something to kind of make the armory a little safer. We couldn't find that we actually approved a dollar amount. So we may come back in June asking for a $5,000 allocation so thank you for that. I know that it was already been approved in concept, but we couldn't confirm that there was a dollar amount.
It's coming back to me a little bit. We'll go back. But I
Yeah.
remember, maybe there was some solar, maybe working with HG&E,
Right.
maybe there's something like that, just to get some lighting on
Just
it.
need some light up there, so.
Okay.
We do want to do another push to kind of get that property back.
Yeah.
So, but we think, you know, get something, some lighting.
Let's not, being.
And we get a sign, it's a good sign that says we're how to contact us. So,
Great.
so we want to come back and get that solidified.
Ask a quick question.
Good.
Is EOHLC the old DHCD?
Yes.
Couple of years.
Yes.
Might even have-
Yeah. They split, because they split economic development and housing. They split it, right? And that's Secretary Gustus, he was the town city manager for Worcester, who's now that Secretary of Housing and livable communities. Yes, I think we got it down, we're just saying HLC. It's
Yeah.
EOHL, yeah, it's
I still say DHC.
yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Entertain motion to adjourn.
So,
Can we have a roll call, please?
Harlinger,
Yes.
Thomas Reed,
Yes.
Patrick Boudreau.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you.
Thanks, guys.
great meeting. Thank you, Steph.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry to hear. From the staff.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
No.